see you.
They want the mic.
Okay. Good evening, council candidates. I'm Sam Anderson, and I will be asking the questions. Let's follow the same format that Lisa had before. Whoever answers first, then the others chime in when you're ready to follow up along that line. First seat right here is Michael Walker, place 1. The next seat is Joy Bowen. Place 1, Tammy Ryan, place 5, and Jean Levenick, place 5. Let me see. Opening remarks will be 1 minute each, and Michael, you can start.
Well, hello everybody. Again, thanks for having us here this evening to share ideas and try to differentiate. It's easy to differentiate here because, anyway, to be politically correct. I'm not the prettiest one in the room. Now, I wanted also to correct my bio because I'm not going to read it to you, but I noticed here it says he also worked with county and local governments to plan land use for growing urban areas like Vail and Aspen. The key word there is worked at Vail and Aspen. I worked for the state of Colorado, and I did work there. Some people were questioning the validity of that, but anyway, that was part of my area of responsibility in Western Colorado. I moved to Flower Mound in 1995. I've been active in boards and commissions in the town since, the last 10 years on various committees and commissions. I've been married for, it's getting close to 40 years to the same person, Janet, and I have 2 children. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much, Flower Mound Area Republican Club, for hosting tonight. My name is Joy Bowen, and I'm running for Town Council, Place 1. For the last 10 years, I have invested my leadership in churches. I've been on a leadership staff role at Irving Bible, also a leadership staff role at Bentry. I'm currently a member over at Valley Creek right here in our very own backyard. And in my day job, I currently work for a parachurch nonprofit organization developing leaders who have dedicated their lives to family ministry. As far as my own family, I've lived here in Flower Mound for 9 years, and we got plugged into the community right away. Serving at our son's schools, we serve at the CCA food pantry. I have 2 boys, ages 13 and 11. We're both going to be in middle school next year, so you can say a prayer that we survive. And I've been married to my husband, Andrew, for almost 17 years. Thanks for having us here tonight.
Good evening. Thank you guys for inviting us. I'm Tammy Ryan, running for Place 5. I moved to Flower Mound back in 1997. No, I'm sorry, 2000. I've been in Texas too many times. But we relocated the first time to Dallas in 1995, and then we moved to Houston, and then we moved back to Flower Mound. And it was very interesting coming to Flower Mound the second time. I was much younger, much older, and then had a child. I have 3 children. I'm married to Alex, who's in the back, almost 20 years. I became involved in the community a couple of years ago, based on town council and some changes that I saw. But volunteering has always been a part of my background. I was PTA PTA treasurer. I was also chairman for a committee and serving on a committee that is with National Multiple Sclerosis Society. It's a national board, and we make changes over 50 states. And hopefully, over time, I'll be able to commit and show what I can do for town of Flower Mound as well.
Thank you for having us here. My name is Jean Levenick. I am currently the Town Council Place 5 representative for the town of Flower Mound. And last year I was appointed, and there's a little mistake in the bio. It says Place 1, but I was appointed to Place 5 when Mayor Hayden won his election, and there were 16 applicants for the position, and the council chose to appoint me to that. I moved to Flower Mound in 1995 with my husband of almost 28 years now, and our 2 boys, and my oldest is a sophomore at Abilene Christian University, and my youngest will be going to the University of Texas at Dallas this fall. So we've been here for 17 years, and I've served on Planning and Zoning Commission. I previously served on council from 2008 to 2010, and during that time I was mayor pro tem from 2009 to 2010. I stepped down in 2010 and decided to put my hat back in last year with the appointment for Place 5.
Yes, please. I don't want to get stuck in the cord.
There we go.
Thank you, guys. I think we'll just go straight to the questions, get through those, so if there are any further questions to be asked, we'll have time for that as well. So I will start with number one. What long-term issues do we face with water supply for our town? What agenda should the town pursue with the Upper Trinity Water District? And what role should the town have in conserving water? And we'll start with,
I'll start.
Okay.
I'll start.
Thank you.
It's my understanding that currently we are contracted to we're contracted for more water. Can you hear me without it? It's better with. It's my understanding that we are contracted for more water than we currently use. And our obligations to the Dallas Water Authority and the Upper Trinity Regional Water District are somewhere around 41 million, I wasn't prepared for this, million gallons a day, MGD. However, if we were going to take a big picture perspective of where we are at build out, we are projected to need over 62 MGD at build out. Now, we could probably get a whiteboard and start drawing out all the different factors that play into this situation with the Upper Trinity Water District, but in my opinion, I feel like we need to be really careful about putting ourselves in a position where we have to buy additional water from Upper Trinity, because as a co-op, if we have to purchase additional water from Upper Trinity, it's my understanding that we'll be responsible for more of the costs associated with building Lake Ralph Hall. Right now, projections are that we will need more water at build out than what we are currently contracted for, and so in my opinion, recycling efforts need to start now before we get to the position where we're strapped for more demand on our water supply. It was reported that we can find somewhere between 5.4 to 13.7 MGD with conservation efforts. And I also think that when we look at changes to our master plan, if we can do changes that will relieve the potential burden off the residents instead of increase it by increasing density to our residential housing, that will also help with our water conservation, because if we can focus more on commercial versus residential, that obviously will put less stress on our infrastructure needs, including our water supply. Anyone else?
Who's next?
I'll go.
Okay, Joy pretty much, Joy answered the question very well, actually, because we are contracted for 30 million gallons of water per day from Upper Trinity. Problem what we're having right now is we can't change that contract, and Lake Ralph Hall is, Upper Trinity is wanting to get that online, and all we're asking Upper Trinity to do right now is take a step back and look for other sources of water before we have to be obligated to build that lake. The majority of the cost of that lake is going to fall on the Flower Mound residents, and I think it's financially irresponsible if we don't look for other avenues to get our water supplied. If we have to get water from Dallas, it's just very important that we talk with Upper Trinity and try and work out an agreement with Lake Ralph Hall, because if we do have to contract extra water from Dallas, we will end up having to foot the bill of $100 million pipe to get that water to Flower Mound. So Lake Ralph Hall, we have been talking very aggressively with Upper Trinity Water.
It is true that, we do have the Upper Trinity problem. One of the biggest factors that Flower Mound needs to pay attention to is cost structure. The cost structure for the Dallas Water District is much cheaper than the Upper Trinity District. But yet, more of our water is coming from the Upper Trinity than it is from the Dallas. So we do need to look at other ways to balance that cost. One of the other things that I think of when it comes to conservation is other areas in drier areas have great conservation efforts. Flower Mound could implement those. I found it quite interesting last year. Everybody had a water issue last year, but we did not, which means we have too much water. But we still need to use that water efficiently. Just because we have it doesn't mean we don't need to conserve it. So there are, to back up what Jean said, there are ways we can do that. Use wastewater. Get residents involved. Interactive videos, interactive media to show them how they can conserve water as well.
Well, I don't want to repeat everything that everybody said because it was accurate. I just want to add on to it. I checked with TSEC today, I went on the website, and Corinth has joined Flower Mound. Let me back up. We're going through a water use permit process for the reservoir in Fannin County, known as Lake Ralph Hall, proposed Lake Hall Reservoir. We, Flower Mound, have had a long effort. If you've been around a while, when Lake Ralph Hall was first being proposed, it was a very significant additional cost to our town. We already are, we're contracted, unfortunately, I believe, to 2060 to provide water with an onerous contract. The ability to terminate or break that, or breach, is negligible. So we're stuck with that. So what does that mean? It means that we have to look at alternative water sources if and when that contract expires. We think Lake Ralph Hall is not the answer, and hopefully I can encourage you to contact your state legislators, both Jane Nelson and Tam Parker. Although they're not sitting at TSEC, they know people that are involved with TSEC, and to tell them that we don't think Lake Ralph Hall is a good idea. Now, the conservation measures, I'm very much involved with that because serving as president of the Broadwood HOA, now I'm on the DFW chapter of the Community Associations Institute, which represents about 900,000 residents across the Metroplex that live in HOAs. There's a quandary there, because if you are living in an HOA that's regulated, you have to maintain certain grass, you have to have landscaping, et cetera. You don't have a lot of choice. Austin is now introducing legislation to stimulate the use of xeriscape and more water-friendly plant materials. I think it's incumbent upon us, as people involved in the HOA side, to look at and be innovative in ways that we can make recommendations to our property owners, as well as the common areas. Like in Broadwood, for example, there's 40 acres of common area that we water, and the grass grows and we mow it. It's a great system, the business plan. We water it, it grows, then you mow it, and then you water it, and it grows. So we have to look at ways that we can use alternative plant materials, and I really want to focus on that. And a little bit about the town conservation program. Right now, we go into stage 1, which is mandatory under the contracts we have both with the City of Dallas Utility District as well as the Upper Trinity. So whether or not we like it or not, we have to meet conservation requirements. It goes to stage 2, and that's when you can't water and odd and even and so forth. But it really is incumbent upon us to educate our residents as well as the town, because they also have property, to look at ways that are friendly with use of water. Anyway, thank you. You have to have a friendlier way to speak.
I need one of those.
We're talking about IT and we need a wireless.
And Mike volunteers for a donation. Yay! Wireless mic from Mike.
Thank you, candidates, for answering that one. I would just like to follow up on the third question, because that was only touched on. And the question specifically states, what role should the town have in conserving water? I would like each of you to address simply that. The town leading the way in conserving or xeriscape?
I think we did.
I think I did touch on that just a little bit, that our Environmental Conservation Commission has been looking at that, and our staff is looking at ways for, to possibly give incentives to our residents and to businesses to xeriscape. So we are looking at that, and the staff has been involved with that already. So I think I did touch on that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did. Who's next? Anybody?
Well, I think you pretty much summarized it up, that, you know, the town is leading the way in trying to provide incentives for recycling efforts, so.
And I think, without repeating myself, I think it's incumbent upon the HOAs, the management of the HOAs, and the town to look at innovative ways to be able to work a microphone.
I'm not doing it intentionally, I swear.
It's all right. Anyway.
That was our test.
Wait a minute, Chair. Maybe we should go around the front of the table as
I
opposed to
thought the
around the
next question was
chairs.
going to be about the leash law here. Anyway, I think you get my drift on this with all the distraction. And I think it's really, the important part is for the town to take the lead.
Yeah.
And the town can help the HOAs as well as the residents within the HOAs. We're all working together to save water, and that will make our utility bill as well as the environment a better place.
Thank you to all of you. Next question, what is your view on the recent removal of school district criteria from the town's smart growth policy? We'll go that way.
There you go. Right.
Yay!
Oh, go ahead. Okay, now watch your water. I'll hold for you.
Saturday Night Live.
Well, I guess one of the things when I saw this question, I was kind of confused because it says, what is your view on the recent removal of the school district criteria from the town's smart growth policy? And that question is not, it's not an accurate statement because we did not remove the school criteria from the smart growth policy. In December, we amended the policy. We did not remove it. Our school district, when smart growth was put into place over 10 years ago, our school districts, the town was growing at an amazing pace. We had, in the mid-90s, we had a moratorium put on housing permits, and we just couldn't keep up with our infrastructure. One of the things that the smart growth component, or the school component of smart growth did was to say, you know, we need to make sure that we'll contact the school district, make sure that they have capacity. By state law, they're required to have capacity in their buildings to educate. You just heard our previous candidates say that by state law, they have to educate every child. We have gotten to the point, we had a housing development come in of 34 homes, and the way that LISD was calculating their capacity, that project was not going to pass our smart growth. And what in effect it's doing is it's the red tape that's there that's not needed for 34 homes, when we know that LISD has capacity. By law, they have to have capacity. And actually previously, before we amended smart growth, it actually stated in the policy that there could be rezoning. So by amending it, we have taken out, we got advice from our town attorney that if we tell a developer that you can't develop because the LISD tells us that they don't have capacity, and then the developer goes to LISD and says, do you have capacity? And LISD says, yes, we do, or any school district in Flower Mound says, yes, we do. The town could be sued for that, just by denial of their project, because the state says they have to have capacity. So what the amendment does is we have worked with the school district to notify them of when we have developments coming through that will affect the school district, we will notify them. If we have a project that's gonna put their buildings over capacity, or they need to build new buildings, we will find ways to help them make it work for the school district. And I've answered this question so many times, I'm sorry, it sounds like I'm, it's just a.
It's a topic of the day.
It's the topic of the day,
Yeah.
yes it is.
Well, I have a different take on that one. The problem with school rezone is very apparent in our town, me being one of them. My neighborhood was gonna be rezoned, and I lived within a stone's throw of Old Settlers and McKinney. I made that choice when I bought that house because of where my schools are. My kids can walk. That's my choice. Rezoning is, yes, needed at times, but it was not needed in this case. And it should not be needed to put the residents over, developers over residents. And that's what happened here. Now we've got a contentious issue going on in Flower Mound. You've got the east side against the west side. You've got one school over another school. And this was created because we chose a development over what residents want at the end of the day. So we're gonna, yes, do we need development? Yes, we need development, but we also need to be aware of what our citizens want. And right now, our citizens do not want us to choose development over their choice. Their choice to build their home or buy their home and go to their school is their choice. But we do not need to turn around and say development has a better choice.
Thank you.
The reality is the public has not been provided with any concrete proof that this was something that we needed to do, which makes the decision to amend it, not well thought out and a little short-sighted. The attention that our previous smart growth criteria brought to a potential problem was actually a good thing. And it's truly changes to our master plan that puts us in jeopardy when we increase density that wasn't initially taken into consideration for our infrastructure needs. And, there was, in fact, a resident who requested, they did a PIR for documentation concerning the amendment, the council that they sought for recommendations to amend it. And, approximately 2,000 documents were sent to the Attorney General. The research that I've done shows that our state constitution and our home rule authority allows us the local privilege to regulate how we manage our growth. And that includes providing infrastructure such as schools. If you look at the state constitution, it tells you right along with roads, water, and sewer that you also can provide for schools. So, until we really see some concrete evidence of why this had to be amended in such an aggressive manner, the public really is left to speculate on whether it was really needed.
Well, this is a complex question. It has a lot of legal implications and constitutional questions, but the bottom line here is the town of Flower Mound does not control schools by law. And the folks that were up here before us, you need to really spend time with them about their whole operation planning of new schools and rezoning within, because that's their job, and if they don't do it, they need to be told why you don't think they're doing that. The issue we have here at the town level is really municipal government, except for where schools are going to be built, how many students are going to be in there. That's not our job. They're Louisville Independent School District, and the state put independent in there deliberately. So that set aside, I'm currently on planning and zoning. I'm the one who made the motion to affect our smart growth criteria as it relates to public schools. And I think it was December 10th, if you want to go back and view the video, it's available at the town website. But I was also concerned about impacts to, not so much to schools, because that was not our responsibility, whether or not they're schools or not. It's our ordinances and how we can regulate development within, which is our job, to regulate development within our boundaries, our corporate boundaries. And the town attorney did share with us that we felt that we were stepping out of line and getting very close to giving developers really a chance to challenge our ordinances. And it could not be just the public schools element of that smart growth analysis, but also other elements. Now, previously we had removed TxDOT responsibilities from smart growth. Why? Because we don't control TxDOT. I wish we could, but we don't. We can make suggestions, and that's about it. But it really is a question of our legal authorities, and if you're going to challenge our legal authorities, that opens up issues such as taking constitutional violations and things like that. And that's the reason that item was brought forward to both P&Z and Town Council. So we were stuck with how we would like it to be in the reality of the legal system in our country, and we're very protective of master plan and smart growth. And the way it was explained to us by legal counsel, and that's where we go for legal advice, is that it would be wise to remove and alter that particular item. Now what I did, because I was annoyed also, is I made the additional, in my motion, the additional language that the town inform the school district, all school districts that are in our town limits, to be notified when we have new development occurring. Not just hope they figure it out or they watch it on television, but we formally notify the school district, guess what? We've just approved a 300 home development and there may be students that would be generated. We've done our duty here at the town level. We have notified the school district that's being affected that, watch out, we're gonna probably add some more students to your system. And then it's up to the school districts to figure out where do we put these people. But we have to be very careful we don't step outside of our limits as a home rule community, because if you go back and look at, the good news is we're a home rule chartered municipality. And with that goes another level of care, because it's sort of like saying you can be trusted. I always say it's like you're being trusted with sharp objects. Well, if you start playing with the sharp objects, the state in their wisdom can say, don't do that. So my concern was, can we still sustain smart growth as part of our master plan process?
Thank
quick, real quick.
I just want to add that, you know, our smart growth criteria was defendable. Sorry. You know, I want to choose my words very wisely here. We cannot control what LISD does or how they respond to our new development, but we can put a pause in the system to allow attention to be drawn to potential problems, okay? And so when we have the smart growth criteria for schools, we allowed for those schools that were impacted by new development to get up to 110% capacity before we would actually, you know, fail the calculation. Now, that calculation was never used to be able to force LASD's hand or tell them what to do, but rather to draw our attention as a town to a potential issue and give the developer the opportunity to make it right. And so, you know, I think that the pause in the process was actually a really good thing because we could identify a problem and then go about finding creative solutions for it. Currently, right now, when we approve new development, we send notification to LISD, and then they have a state mandate to educate all the students. Well, they don't have any negotiating power at that point. They just have the receiving students coming in. And the people who are now currently impacted are those families who have already invested in Flower Mound. And I think that we should probably place the priority on those families who have already invested in Flower Mound and not put their kids at risk of being the victim here. So.
Can I say something else to that?
Sure, thank you.
I just want to say one other thing to that. As a council member, I've learned that, I've learned that to ignore the advice of your town attorney is fiscally irresponsible to the taxpayers of the town of Flower Mound. And it's not, I don't understand that we didn't get the notice, that we didn't know this was going on. We have notifications going out. We had 2 public hearings on this issue, one through planning and zoning and one at town council. And when you're paying attention to what's going on in town and you're part of the process and you want to be involved, you know when these things are coming forward. You're able to, it's public participation, you're able to get up and ask your questions and have them answered. Like I said earlier, we moved here in 1995. We were zoned for Old Settlers Elementary. My son started out there in a preschool program. Then we moved to Wellington Elementary. He was the very first kindergarten class at Wellington Elementary with 3 half-day kindergarten classes. That's all they had there at the time. We were at Wellington Elementary until he got to be in 4th grade, and then LISD said, you know what, we built you a new school. And it never occurred to me to fight that because I knew I was still part of LISD. It never occurred to me to say, hey, this is my school. I built this from my 5-year-old going to kindergarten until all of a sudden he was in 4th grade, and I had to go to a new school to start that all over again. Part of belonging to a growing community is dealing with the issues that happen with the school districts. We have 4 school districts in the town of Flower Mound. We are going to be rezoned. It's not an easy process. Nobody likes to go through it, but I can probably bet that everybody in this room has gone through rezoning at one time or another. And again, it's fiscally irresponsible to ignore the advice of your town attorney.
Can I speak to that? One more to that. We can say town attorney, but for how many years Smart Growth has had that in Smart Growth? It's been there. Now all of a sudden it needs to change. Why didn't it need to change? I haven't really seen it. The documents are sealed. We can't get to them. If I do a PRR, I can't get that information. So I can't really say if it's really true or if it's not really true. As a parent that went through the rezoning process, I understand rezoning is part of growth. That is true. And explaining that to our residents, if you listen to them, you will understand that's a very hard thing for them to understand. It's not just affecting the parents, it's also affecting their kids. Kids have a hard time making adjustments, changing schools, changing neighborhoods, making new friends. And if you're impacting them, the parents need to be notified in advance. Expecting 95% of the residents to look at town council agenda packet and think they're all gonna do it is unrealistic. If that was the case, this room would be full of town residents, but it's not. It's full of the ones that are just deciding to get involved. I decided to get involved. So I'm representing the 95% of residents that are not here because their voices aren't being heard. We hear things and we make adjustments, true. But I don't like to be told that it's based on our attorney. At the end of the day, I think if we speak to our attorney, I think those things can be adjusted as well too. Because at the end of the day, we have home rule. There are areas in which the residents can rule, and I think those things can be discussed and changed.
Well, unfortunately, we at the board and commission level rely on staff and sort of whether or not we like him or not, our town attorney. And I'm not an attorney, and he's the town attorney, so we go to him and get an opinion. You need to change some things. I would like to know why too. Again, if you go back to the, I asked the famous why question when that was presented to P&Z, and our town attorney tried to answer that, and that's when I had my additional language about notification. But the bottom line is, when the developer comes to our town, and their zoning and master plan is in compliance, zoning is compliance, they're legally ready to go, and they go over to a school district, any of them, Argyle, Northwest, Denton, Louisville, and they go to those school districts and say, well, you have to sign off on our homework assignment, we passed all these other tests and got good grades, and the school district said, well, we're not sure, this is under capacity, and this one's over capacity, and we're charged to rebalance, but we're not sure what that's gonna be, so I'm sorry, we can't help you. They come back to the town, they say, we didn't do well in that class, we didn't get a good grade, but when they get a new teacher and build a new classroom, I'll get a better grade, or I'm gonna have to retake the class. We can't do that when the developer says, look, I met all of your local ordinances, and the school district isn't controlled by the town. That's the dilemma. So how do we safeguard ourselves? We do listen to our town attorney. We create a mechanism where we start to communicate with the affected school district or districts. They figure it out because that's their job description. If you look at your tax statement, where does the money go? It goes to the school districts. They're supposed to pay them to figure it out. All we're telling them is that we got X students head your way in 5 years. Also, smart growth did not look out in 5 years. It had a very short horizon time. So it's saying either through your school district, through your modeling and your anticipated development plans and how your rezoning plans are enforced, can you meet the need? And they're saying, well, of course we meet the need. That's in our job description. So you see the dilemma we're in. We struggle with it, but we had no choice. We listened to our town attorney.
I just have one more thing.
I'll come back to it.
This is town council, this is not LASD.
Okay, next question. Thank you. How comfortable are you with the town's current direction on residential and commercial development? Who wants to go first?
Well, I guess except for LISD, we're doing okay. I'm kind of joking. This is town council discussions and not LISD. I think we've done a good job. If you just look at what's happening along FM 2499, FM 407, if that is finally finished, TxDOT, as well as the new development that's occurred along 1171. I miss anybody? 3040, 1171, 407, 2499. There's things going on there that are exciting. There's housing, there's commercial development, retail, to include office, and just wander around the medical area and you tell me if things are well. They are. We're doing something right, and what we're doing is we're sending a message out there that Flower Mound is open for business, and that's jobs and places to live. In a perfect world, we'd like everybody to live, work, and play in Flower Mound, but we have distractions like the airport in Dallas and Fort Worth. But we would like everybody to be in our town limits. I think we're doing a better job at getting there. Canyon Falls, which is on I-35 on the west side by 377. We have Lakeside to the south, but finally they're moving trees, and dirt's gonna start down there. And then the Riverwalk, we have renewed interest from a new developer because that's been stagnant because of financial strain. So we're getting it on. So I'm upbeat about what's happening in our town. We don't want to stop it. One of the reasons I'm running for town council this year is I like the momentum. We happen to be in North Texas. We happen to be in Denton County. We happen to be in Flower Mound. All of those are significant growth engines because we have an airport to our south and we have interstate on the east and the west. So this is the right time to do it. I have a planning background, so I'm looking forward to helping the town connect the dots and try to put pressure on finishing our roads. so that we can all have a better place to live. Thank you.
Well, residential changes to our master plan have created some issues with our future build-out, leaving our town with additional infrastructure costs. Let's take Lakeside DFW for example. That property was shovel-ready under a previous 380 agreement where the town put in the water, sewer, and roads for what it was zoned for, which is campus commercial, and also included the hotel and the condominiums that were supposed to be a part of that part of the development. When we changed it to mixed use, which again, it's gonna be an incredible project and we're all excited about it, but there is a fiscal impact for us all to realize. And that is that, you know, the town is now going to invest another over $5.6 million to accommodate the additional infrastructure needs that are associated with that new zoning. Now, the main component of that new zoning is residential. We allowed for 45% residential with a 25% variance, so we can have up to 70% residential down in that area. And we're paying a majority of the impact fees for the infrastructure. I believe that we need to focus our efforts on bringing true economic development to Flower Mound, good paying jobs to our community. We need daytime customers who will bring their business, they will eat, they will shop, but not put additional stress on our infrastructure of our town. Our tax base is not balanced, and by focusing on the commercial development and bring those high quality jobs to Flower Mound, I think that will be in a better place as a community.
I too am pleased with where we are with commercial development. It's grown. It's gotten better. The tax base structure needs to improve. Back in 2002, according to what I've researched, we had a 8.4% tax rate, tax base. Now we're at 20% for commercial. But the majority of it still is on residential. So we need to improve in commercial. I love the Lakeside idea. I love the Riverwalk idea. I am too concerned as a town, can we handle both of those at the same time? It's got some concerns for me, but overall, I think it's a great investment. I too am concerned about the 70% residential development. That was not in the original plans. I'm concerned that people that buy a home there, I know there's a new commercial building that's going in there. We don't know who's gonna be in there, but they are putting the building in there. One of the concerns that we do in Flower Mound is when we put in a housing development, and we want to put in commercial, the residents don't want the commercial development. They don't like the building. And I just hope that we put the commercial in before we put the residential in, because I think it'll create more contention.
Yeah, I love this question because I was so excited to get back on council last year because our focus has moved from let's say no to everything to the town of Flower Mound is open for business. We are finally getting around the Metroplex and around North Texas, we are getting people looking at us saying Flower Mound is back on the map. And proof of that is last night at our council meeting, our town manager announced that we have an international, and okay, hold on one second. An international business is relocating to Flower Mound, Texas. It's an international business. That is not just a regional corporate headquarters for regional or national. It is an international business coming to Flower Mound. Put Flower Mound on the map. Last night we approved a site plan for over 560,000 square feet of warehouse space in the Lakeside Business District. That is $18 million to the commercial tax base in Flower Mound. Excited about Lakeside DFW, and I'm very excited to be part of that project, and I wrote down several notes about it as we were talking. That property has been owned by the same person since, okay, I was like having even bigger hair than I have now and wearing leg warmers, okay? They've been talking about campus commercial on that property for a very long time, and that's what it was zoned for. In 2006, the master plan update committee recommended that this property start to be looked at as a mixed-use project. In 2008, the town council, which I was a part of, created the mixed-use ordinance. And the 70% housing or residential, the mixed-use ordinance specifically states that it can be up to 70%. It's very difficult in a mixed-use project to calculate exactly the percentage of the residential, because you will have retail on the bottom floor, you might have office space on the second floor, you might have a stay-at-home person or a stay-at-home working from their office at home. So it's very difficult to calculate exactly what that is. And it also happens with if someone moves in there and they move out, this ordinance allows for flexibility, so we're not stuck with empty buildings. One of the first things we did for back on council last year was the council approved a $14 million Kroger improvement. I cannot for the life of me understand why anybody would say no to a $14 million project in Flower Mound that has been part of this community for almost 20 years. So I was very excited to do that. To date, their fuel station opened up just 7 weeks ago. To date, our residents using their reward cards have saved over $35,000 just using on fuel costs. One of the things, going back to Lakeside DFW, one of the things about the campus commercial, if the property being zoned campus commercial would have allowed for office buildings up to the FAA limit, which is 40 stories. The town of Flower Mound, I think if you ask anybody who lives in Flower Mound right now, would you approve of 40-story office buildings over on Lakeside? It cuts off all the access to the lake, which we would not have before. Now we have that with the mixed-use ordinance. Plus, it would put those 40-story office buildings right up next to our residential neighborhood to the north. The mixed-use ordinance will also, as if you compare it to the campus commercial, the mixed-use ordinance is 5 times the ad valorem taxes as campus commercial taxes. So I think the mixed-use ordinance is a great thing for Flower Mound. I think DFW, or Lakeside DFW, is a great project for Flower Mound. We have people from all over looking at us to be part of that. We're breaking ground next week. Phase 1 will include some housing, single lot houses, and also 50,000 square feet of commercial. So we are including the commercial, and that's all part of the developer's agreement, that we made very sure that everything that our residents were asking for, we included in that to make sure everybody was heard. We had, I can't remember, 23 public hearings about it. We had the Stewart family opened up their home. They had people to come. They sent out invitations to almost every single resident in the town of Flower Mound. Come meet us. We would like to discuss the project with you. Our residents are very excited about this project, and I'm very excited to be part of it.
Awesome. Well, now we're at the time for the closing arguments. Do I get to do the last question? I do get to, okay.
There you go.
Okay, the last question is, should the town implement single-member districts to establish area residence requirements for some or all the members, or lead council member requirements as they are? And should the town council be enlarged? Who wants to go first?
Oh, go ahead.
All right.
Do you want to go? Age before beauty.
Yeah. We had a similar event with the Seniors in Motion. At lunchtime, it's always fun to go over there and visit with them. But before I started speaking, I had to publicly disclose that I was a senior. So they had to bear with me. And once somebody asked about a dog park, and I also owned a dog, so I had to disclose that. And the reason I'm thinking that, I want to disclose too, and I want to mirror what Councilmember Levenick said. My background is in investment management. I worked for a very large, or the largest, life insurance company in the United States, as well as a financial company that's pretty big. That is the kind of investor that we want to come to Flower Mound. Deep pockets, sustaining power, smart, and they have to meet investor returns, either through pension funds, international investors, or their own money, the general account money that backs the insurance policies and everything else they're liable for, future liabilities. As a result, and the reason I'm pausing on this, Lakeside has been fallow. I took somebody that way once, I think it was my nephew, and he said, this is a very large park by the lake. What is this park? Well, it was not Lakeside Park. It was supposed to be a development, and it's supposed to have been a development for a long time. And as a result, we have a major investor going in.
please go to the last question, and if you want to follow up on this.
Okay, I'm
short
sorry.
Remarks, okay?
Okay, you got me excited.
Running very late, so.
Anybody else want to?
This is the last question. I have.
Last question, you wanna answer it?
No, you can answer the question.
You wanna answer
Oh,
the question?
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was gonna go.
No, you're fine. Should the town implement single member
Okay.
districts?
And well, the reason I was getting to that is, believe it or not, but you got me excited over here. My bottom, and I'll conclude, we're getting institutional investors interested in DFW and Flower Mound. That's where I was going with that. Single member districts. I've lived in areas around the United States where you had wards and single member districts, and the wards versus the wards, and my district, it should get more money than your district. I'm concerned about single member districts. It should be considered and reviewed. I think people have mentioned Roanoke as an example. McKinney has single member situation. So I'm not saying absolutely not, no way, but I think it's something we have to be very careful about because you lose sense of community. Flower Mound has always been talked about as a community, a town. We're not a city, we're a town. And as a result, we have a community. When you start carving and slicing into districts, you get into more of a parochial turf war kind of situation. I don't know if Flower Mound's big enough for that right now. But where would it go? It has to come through our charter. We're coming back around for charter review cycle. We will have a charter review committee look at that. That has to be validated by the town council, and that's finally put out in the election. And you, the voter, will have a chance to vote up or down on those concepts. The key thing is we want to make sure we have the right information before you vote. So that's pretty good on that.
Going down.
Yeah, I'm very much a fan of the process that we have in place, not the court. But, you know, with our charter review process, we can continually revisit this issue. I think at the last town charter review, they discussed the single member districts and they decided that it wasn't a good fit for the town due to our demographics at this time. So, you know, if our charter review commission decided that this was something that they wanted to go for and that it would be a good thing for Flower Mound, then you know, just like Mr. Walker said, then the recommendation would go to a public vote by way of ballot. Now, pertaining to the question about increasing the council size, I kind of giggled at that because we had a hard enough time finding people to run this year for 2 of the 3 seats that were open. Thank God Mark decided to run again because otherwise we would have a vacant seat, but unless one of us shifted over to another seat. But anyway, my point is that I just don't see that there is a demand right now to warrant additional council seats. We're having a hard enough time getting people to run as it is. So until there is a demand for increasing the council, you know, I think that we're probably adequate at this time.
Well, it's gonna ad-lib on to what they already said. Basically, the charter review is coming up, and it's up to the voters. And if it's a good fit for Flower Mound, then the Flower Mound residents will make that decision. In reference to enlarging town council, I agree with Joy on that issue too. Being a local resident and getting involved, it was an eye-opening experience, and it is. Politics is an interesting game, and a lot of residents won't touch it. And I think enlarging it, I don't think we're ready. I think we need to educate our residents on what the process is, get more residents involved, encourage them to get involved. And I think we need, as a town, really make an effort to make it convenient for residents to get involved. And then at that time, maybe consider enlarging it.
Okay, this is a charter issue, and like everybody has said, the next time we have a charter review, what I would suggest is that they spend a little bit more time than just 2 months doing the review that they went, that was just the last review. I'd like to see a 6-month, 9-month review looking through everything with the charter. Single member districts, this needs to be up to the voters of the town of Flower Mound. And when we have a charter review, it's public hearings. The public is invited to come and give their input. So the commission is hearing everybody before they give their recommendations for the ballot. One of the things I would like the Charter Review Commission to look at is the possibility of extending our term lengths. When we have a term of only 2 years, it's kind of hard to get some work done. And you get in and you've got a learning curve of about 9 months to a year, really, a learning curve. And you finally get up and running and things start happening, and you have the possibility of council changing over almost every year. So I'd like to have the Charter Review look at possibly extending our term lengths. Would you like me to just finish with my closing, or are we?
Actually, we go to Joy first for
Okay.
closing remarks.
Oh, okay.
My My name is Joy Bowen, and I'm running for Town Council, Place 1. Thank you for having us here tonight. I hope that you'll stay and get to know us on a conversational basis, ask questions that weren't necessarily answered tonight. I hope to have the honor to represent you well. I have the ability to ask the difficult questions and listen very well, do my homework, and make sure that you are well represented. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Thank you for your time, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you. And Michael is next.
Well, again, thank you for having us here this evening. Again, a quick overview of me. I've been here since '95. I've been on boards of various commissions since the last 10 years. I have a background in investment management, land use planning. I've worked for state government, local governments, the federal government. I retired from the military. So I'm a big intergovernmental cooperation person. We cannot fight governments. We've got to get everybody working together, help us to fulfill our mission, which is why I moved here, which was because, we moved here from Colorado. So we liked Flower Mound because it wasn't flat, and it had more than one tree. In fact, we could have a tree ordinance discussion, but we're trying to preserve our trees. I don't know if Atmos is in the room, but we're trying to preserve our trees as best we can. And I'm trying to help using my experience and my passion for local government to fix stuff, because my dad was an engineer and he taught me how to fix stuff. So thank you.
And then next is Jean.
Okay.
Or no, I'm sorry, Tammy.
Okay, well, I already have the mic. Thank you for inviting us. I had a great time. It was a great learning experience. I'm Tammy Ryan, running for Place 5, and I do ask for your vote. Just to piggyback on what Jean said in reference to a learning curve. This is a learning curve. It's a learning curve for anybody that steps up to this. And I took the opportunity to step up. Now, yeah, it's going to take some time to learn, but that's why we're here. We're here to learn about what's happening in our town and how can we get involved. And that's what I did. And I want to encourage more residents to do it, just not the ones in this room. There's a lot of residents that need to step up and get involved. And I think that's something the town can improve upon, is encouraging residents like me, like Joy, to take the opportunity to find out what's going on, educate ourselves, and get involved. Thank you.
Again, thank you for having us here tonight. It's, this isn't a mayor's election, but I think this really is an important election. We are on a very positive path with momentum. We've got a council that, we don't always agree with everything, but we're very respectful to each other. And I don't want to keep continually looking back at what might have happened 6 months ago or a year ago. I want Flower Mound to keep looking to the future to see what we can do for our residents and how we can make it better. And I think the path that we're on with the economic development that we have coming to town, and we've been working really hard on, I think is a really good path to be on. That's what our residents spoke last year when they elected the current mayor. They wanted the economic development side of Flower Mound to start hitting the road. So they wanted that to get going. I've been serving this community for 17 years, and I think it's important that you have experience if you want to serve and vote in local elections and vote for leaders. And if you want to be a leader, you've got to vote too. And okay. So thank you very much again, and you guys all have a nice